go out and buy some lanzones. Rita's been craving it all day.
Sure thing, Miss Maggie. Is that all?
No time for the people, but plenty of time to eat, huh?
Do you know an Engineer Abad?
You have to clear your name, because otherwise, you'll get suspended or even worse. Your license could get revoked too.
Everything's going well between me and Rita. I won't let anyone ruin that.
Simon, her entire family is attacking me, and I will never let that slide.
By the way, where's the congresswoman, sir?
My wife has some important matters to attend to.
Oh, of course.
I'm not afraid of you.
I'm not afraid of you either.
The TVWAN News is proudly brought to you by
BSP, our bank, our people.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Irojak.
And I'm Tracy Pa. Join me later in the bulletin for sports and the weather.
In this edition, board says one regulator only for all SEZ projects, compensate public servants well, and Koyari Rugby League restoring pride. South Bougainville's acting regional police commander, Inspector John Popui, issued a stern warning against attempting to cross flooded rivers during the ongoing long rainy season. The caution came after a young man lost his life while trying to cross the flooded Kumu River in Buin. The victim, under the influence of alcohol, was making his way home from Buin town to his Kumu village when the incident occurred. With continuous heavy rains causing all rivers and creeks to flood, the police urged residents to prioritize safety and avoid dangerous crossings during this hazardous weather period. PNG Ports Corporation Limited is eyeing increased trade, connectivity and commercial capacity as it prepares to upgrade its non-profitable ports. At least half of these ports will be rehabilitated using funding from the Australian government, said Ian Hayden Smart, the officer in charge of PNG Ports.
PNG Ports OIC Ian Hayden Smart said recently that out of the 15 ports owned by PNG Ports, only 3 are profitable. Ports in Rabaul, Kavieng, Lorengau, Buka, Kieta, Daru, Alotau, Orobe, Medang, Aitape, Vanimo, and Wewak are run as community service obligatory ports. Hayden Smart said these 12 ports rely entirely on the profitable ports of Lae, Motukea, and Kimbe to fund their operations. The country relies on maritime trade for access to goods and services. The ports are the critical link for connectivity and economic growth. PNG Ports attracted a blended financial package of 1.5 billion kina from the Australian Infrastructure Financing Facility for the Pacific after launching its first ever 30-year port master plan 2 years ago. The ports of Kimbe, Kavieng, Lorengau and Orobe will be upgraded using the AIFFP funds. Daru will be upgraded utilizing a grant from the Government of Australia outside of the IFFP funding. The master plan highlighted the state of the port facilities on average as very poor and required urgent repair, prompting the financial package, which is part of a bilateral sovereign loan between the governments of Australia and Papua New Guinea. He added that the upgrades will ensure that the ports are fit-for-purpose facilities to meet future demands placed by the local economy and will be more climate and seismic resilient. The port upgrades are in line with the current government's Connect PNG agenda. Salome Vincent, TVWAN News.
The Immigration and Citizenship Services Authority introduced several new initiatives at the first ever immigration meeting on Tuesday. Chief Migration Officer Stanis Hulahau said the seminar will allow them to hear out clients and have a collaborative approach. Several new initiatives were introduced during the Immigration and Citizenship Services Authority first ever meeting on Tuesday. Chief Migration Officer Stanis Hulahau stated that over 2 years as CMO, he realized that the issue within the authority can be fixed within the authority and that the seminar will allow them to hear out clients and have a collaborative approach.
From this conference, we will now look at how we develop our action plans towards addressing those specific issues. So the Immigration Conference is an opportunity to provide you with valuable insights into the latest developments in our immigration systems, policies, and processes. It is anticipated that we will hold this event each year to continue our engagement and collaboration with our important stakeholders. Today, ICSA will introduce some further initiatives to support business, trade, and investment in PNG. These include introducing a business outreach program to further engage with the international business community to promote a shared vision for a large-scale project and investments, and to provide education and advice to business regarding work permit and visa requirements.
The authority plays a pivotal role in ensuring the integrity of the country's borders while facilitating smooth travel for individuals and businesses alike. The authority's mandate encompasses several essential functions, including visa processing, passport and citizenship services, border control, compliance and enforcement. PNG ICSA focuses on a number of key pillars, including enhanced traveler facilitation, strengthening border security, supporting the national development, and preserving national identity.
ICSA has taken several steps to prioritize and better manage our caseload, and we have successfully reduced visa processing times by 15%. This allows businesses to access skilled labor and invest in our country more efficiently.
He shared that they have been continuously reviewing and updating the policies to strike the right balance between safety and business needs, and have been actively engaging with stakeholders to ensure that policies are aligned with changing business requirements and contribute to our nation's resilience and recovery. Some key reforms ICSA implemented includes the reactivation of the multiple entry component of the short-term business visa for holders of eligible passports and further work to review conditions of those business visa class with the aim to extend the duration of the visa and offer unlimited entries. Enhancing business, trade and investment travel to PNG was the key idea behind the Immigration and Citizenship Services Authority seminar held on Tuesday, the 1st of August 2023. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Labour and Immigration, John Rosso, admitted to the various changes that needed to be made in the authority, saying more work is needed to be transparent and efficient. The Immigration and Citizenship Services Authority for the first time held a seminar yesterday to speak with relevant stakeholders, government officials, business representatives and industry experts on the key purpose of enhancing business, trade and investment travel to PNG. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Labour and Immigration John Rosso admitted to the various changes that needed to be made in the authority and said more work needed to be done to be transparent and efficient.
Having this workshop also gives an opportunity for all of us to find a pathway forward to improve systems of administration from inside ICA itself, and finding out how best we can be able to assist relevant stakeholders, businesses, to get rid of the bureaucratic red tape, so to speak, so that we can move business faster and more efficiently and more transparently. The conference represents yet another initiative, the authority, under its key priority areas on organization reform and service delivery improvements, to engage with our clients from the public and private sectors and discuss in an open setting about our immigration services and how best we can improve these services and having a very good, efficient, transparent service, especially on visa services and other areas. This is an area that the government is focused on, and as Minister for Immigration and Border Security, apart from my other duties, I am keen to work with the CMO to drive our new reforms in visa services and improve our efforts to deliver the services to our clients efficiently and professionally. I must admit that there are areas that we need improvement on. We need a more efficient passport application and processing system so that we don't stand in line outside the immigration officers. That provides quick turnaround time. This applies to our visa approval times too. We need to be more efficient to approve visas within a shorter time frame. These should be improved as these are important foundations for business, investment and trade in PNG.
Rosso mentioned that the government has a vision for economic growth and prosperity. It is closely intertwined with the facilitation of a business-friendly environment, the ability to attract foreign investment, foster international trade and enable seamless entrepreneurs and skilled workers is paramount to realizing the authority's vision. The challenge for the Minister, Chief Migration Officer and ICSA is to look into ways the authority can be more efficient, transparent and proficient as authority moves forward in these trying times. Rosso encouraged participants to give ideas, call out challenges and point out mistakes made in the authority to improve services. The board of the Special Economic Zone Authority has expressed concerns regarding efforts to establish different special economic zones using different standalone acts of Parliament without complying with the SEZA Act of 2019, without the express authorization of the SEZ Authority. The SEZ Authority Board, in pursuing the government's policy on SEZ development, emphasized in a press conference today that there must be only one regular of special economic zones.
Established in 2019, the Special Economic Zone Authority, or SEZA, was put in place to establish and develop special economic zones in Papua New Guinea under a unified framework. The SEZA Act empowers the authority to be the sole facilitator for creating, establishing, developing and operating SEZs in the country. Recently, the SEZA board has been alarmed by the efforts to establish different SEZs using different standalone acts of Parliament without complying with the SEZA Act. Attempts in this regard have been through the private members' bill process. The board states that this is contrary to the SEZA Act.
It's important that there is credible entities that regulate SEZs and also give confidence to investors that are coming into country. So as a mandated authority, we have been, through the Mara Barroso government, introduced the Act back in 2019, and it is a great piece of legislation that was passed in Parliament.
International best practice of special economic zones in many countries tell us that there is always a national unified legislation for establishing and developing SEZ. Now, the purpose of the SEZ Act, apart from creating and developing SEZ in the country, is that it provides a set of rules so that when players and developers and operators of SEZ come into the country and they're involved in the SEZ business or enclaves, they follow a set of rules that apply to all.
The SEZA board maintains that it strongly dissuades and opposes the creation of SEZs using different legislations and calls for all developers and operators to develop and operate SEZs using the single unified framework of the SEZA Act of 2019. Maricela Kelaton, TVWAN News.
Meantime, the SEZA board, with its relevant partners, will commence an awareness drive targeting the chambers of commerce and industries in key provinces such as East New Britain.
We'll do a awareness on the process of application to get a SEZ license through the district and the requirements that are contained in the Act, so all our enterprises and our private sector in country can be able to tap into the incentives, tax incentives and other fiscal incentives and other incentives that are contained currently within the Act.
The National Department of Health is currently dealing with a noticeable increase in the number of tuberculosis cases nationwide. NDOH Secretary Dr. Osborne Liko said the number of TB cases have increased from 30,000 notifications in 2021 to 37,000 in 2022. This represents a 19% increased number of cases to the major hospitals. He has written to the governor of the Bank of Papua New Guinea to facilitate fast clearance of foreign exchange for the purchase of TB drugs. Dr. Liko said the expected time of arrival of the usual supply is August 10, 2023. He said this is an issue beyond NDOH scope of operation and seeks understanding from NDOH partnering government agencies. Dr. Liko said the spread of TB can be prevented by avoiding crowded areas, ensuring that cases are quickly reported, and ensure that TB patients complete medications. This is TVWAN News. After the break, we'll have more news from around the country.
Experience a convenient and smarter way to do your banking with BSB Mobile Banking. You don't have to leave the office or your home to pay for bills. You can view your account balance, transfer funds, top up phone credits, or purchase Easy Pay units wherever you are. Visit your BSB branch today to register now for BSB Mobile Banking. BSB Mobile Banking, the smarter way to bank. BSB, our bank, our people.
Enjoying life when we work together, making happy memories that last forever. Hot and talk, young or old, let's calories, family meal with home. We'll bring out the smiles, cause it's our favorite of mine. Sandy, see, call us, yeah, rise on scales, yeah, price. Sandy, see, call us, yeah, rise on scales, yeah, price. Amber, you like it?
From the rich soils of the highlands, the finest coffee has been grown by generations of Papua New Guineans. Expertly blended and roasted with over 80 years of experience, making the finest cup of Nescafe New Guinea blend. PNG's own coffee.
Open Nets.
Papua New Guinea. We love a reason for a family gathering. A reason to play. A reason to ignite the flame. A reason to cook the best with the best. Flame oil, now PNG made for PNG cooking. Flame oil, winning taste.
Australia's favorite chef is taking you around the world to meet amazing people.
Teach me how to make this one.
Experience delicious food.
Bon appetit.
And discover the most incredible flavors.
Yum. Nice.
This is a culinary expedition on a budget.
50 rupees. That's a deal. Whoa.
Cheers. Around the world with Mano Fidel. A brand new series coming soon on Outdoor.
Welcome to the John's Family Podcast, people.
Sort of.
What are you
laughing at?
I just thought of something. I don't feel like dancing. On that note, guys, have a good week. We'll speak to you.
Welcome back. Governor for Morabel, Luther Wenge, has called on the government to look after the welfare of public servants in the country. Wenge made this call on the floor of Parliament today when debating the 2021 and 2022 Annual Management Report from the Department of Personnel Management. It was delivered by Minister for Public Service Joe Sungi.
Reforming the public service is a key priority to achieve an efficient public service machinery in delivering required services at a minimal cost. However, in order for the reform to be implemented efficiently, the public service workforce needs to be compensated well. Governor for Morobe, Lutavenge, said public servants are often told to perform well, but they need to be remunerated well also.
They're so worried about building the road, building the bridges, building big infrastructure here and there, call our name, phase 1 project, phase time project, all of those things. But if we don't look after the institution which delivers the government policy, we will stand to suffer. This country will stand to suffer. We'll continue to stand to suffer. That is why we must make sure the public service must be well looked after.
Added that the government should put more effort into benefits like decent homes. For example, public servants in rural areas are sleeping in semi-permanent material houses, yet demanded to work harder.
We're supposed to be making sure that well-disciplined public servants are supposed to be working in the public service of our country, not trying to go and recruit people from overseas. Hey, the world has become small. The world has become intelligent. Once upon a time, they described us as a developing country, misdirecting speaker, and unintelligent. Now we're intelligent. We're intelligent. We're intelligent, like anybody in United States or in Britain or wherever. But the only thing, we have to make sure that we improve ourselves, be a good people to work there in the public service, and have confidence in our public service, have confidence, get the right people there, and surely our future is in the safe hands. But
the government in 2021 allocated 6 key result areas to address the ever-increasing expenditure blowouts in the personal emoluments budget and reforming the public service for improved performance and service delivery. Strategies have been put in place to achieve this. It is ongoing. Freddie Mo, TV1 News.
Governor for Northern Gary Jufa supported the statement by a governor for Morobe and called on the government to implement the recommendations stated in the Public Service Management Report 2021 to 2022.
Our public service are suffering from lack of proper benefits, from lack of proper remuneration, from unproductivity caused by these situations. We expect them to turn up, be happy, be productive, help transform this nation. But what do we pay them to do this job? Where are they living? What are the conditions they live in? I'm a former public servant, as is the good minister, and many of you here. And we know what conditions we worked under. Deplorable conditions. But prior to independence, the conditions of the public servants were quite significant. Drivers, cleaners, tea boys, they had houses. And they had pride, they had dignity, because the public sector took care of them. So they were able to attend to their duties of transforming this economy, building a great nation. To do that, you need productive people. You need the most innovative and intelligent people. But the most innovative and intelligent people in this country are working for the private sector.
55 pioneer students from the Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics program at the National Schools of Excellence have been admitted to universities in the United States, with an additional 7 students accepted by Australian universities. Prime Minister James Marape expressed delight over this achievement after having personally contributed to the establishment of the National Schools of Excellence and having introduced the concept at the Port Moresby National School of Excellence in 2020, with STEM as its flagship.
Prime Minister James Marape has expressed his satisfaction with the achievements of the 6 National Schools of Excellence in Papua New Guinea, namely Sogari, Kerawat, Ayura, Passam, Port Moresby and Wawin. The Prime Minister says the selection of 62 students for scholarships at prestigious universities in the US and Australia demonstrates that Papua New Guinea can compete globally, especially in this era of robotics and artificial intelligence. The STEM curriculum at the National Schools of Excellence has been designed to align with STEM-related courses taught at universities in Papua New Guinea, and the first batch of 220 students graduated in 2022. Mr. Marape further shared his enthusiasm upon learning that 190 students from the National Schools of Excellence class of 2022 have been granted admission to universities within Papua New Guinea for the year 2023. Freddie Mo, TV1 News.
Prime Minister James Marape has clarified that Commissioner of Police David Manning is back to his substantive duties as the Chief of Police, whilst also assisting in some COVID-19 responsibilities as well. Marape made this clarification after MP for Kiriwina Goodenough and Deputy Opposition Leader Douglas Tomuriesa raised this issue in Parliament today.
Whilst we may have come out of the pandemic, we have not come out of the threat of the re-emergence of the COVID-19 strain. This is the response from Prime Minister James Marape in Parliament today when asked about the functions and duties of the Commissioner of Police. Marape said the Pandemic Act is still in place and is not applicable to COVID-19 only, but any other pandemic going forward.
Police Commissioner has not abandoned his designation as the Chief Accountable Officer in our police structure. He still remains at work as a Police Commissioner. He's been attending to work and task despite the shortcomings that we have.
The Prime Minister further told Parliament that the police force is facing issues with manpower, which resulted in the escalating law and order problems in the country. He said the government is now cleaning up the aging police force and will take stock and ramp up police numbers.
We had an aging police force that we are now cleaning up and trying to restock police. I did inform me the first batch of recruitment or selection has been completed, and first entry will take place within the second half of this year, in fact in August. In fact, next week the first 300 recruits will go inside, and we're putting them into a fast-paced mode. 300 recruits every 6 months or so going forward to really ramp up, improve police capacity. Simply put, he is working as police commissioner. He doesn't give 70–80% of his time to the pandemic. He gives almost 95–96–97% of his time to police matters, and we put it to him that the buck stops with him and the buck stops with us as leaders running this country. Law and order is a major issue right now. We need him to attend to these matters and ensure that it is being addressed. So,
Freddie Mo, TV1 News.
The rehabilitation work on the Malendok Island Road located on Tanga Island is almost finished, with just 200 meters remaining before the 19.22-kilometer road is open for public use. The project, undertaken by contractor NGI Suppliers, includes gravelling, widening and associated drainage works, with an expected completion date set for mid-August 2023. The new island government's investment of 2.4 million kina in the Malendok Ring Road and 2.7 million kina in the upcoming Boeing Road project demonstrates its commitment to the people of Tanir LLG under the policy of the further you are, the more we care. Following Malendok, the contractor will begin rehabilitation work on the 24.304-kilometer Boeing Road by the end of August. The Internal Revenue Commission is focusing on goods and services tax in line with Commissioner General Sam Coim's vision to make GST the government's major revenue earner. They are currently hosting a joint awareness on Section 65A of the Goods and Services Tax Act in Ley and Kokopo.
According to the Internal Revenue Commission, income tax is currently PNG's top revenue earner, while goods and services tax ranks third. When IRC Commissioner General Sam Coim took office in 2019, his team started exploring options of reducing the cost of tax administration by adopting effective collection measures, plug leakages, and improve compliance. He outlined that IRC shares the cry of PNG's working class concerning the high rates of taxes imposed on their salary and wages. However, they have to offer the government an alternative to offset the foregone revenue. That is why IRC aims to make GST the #1 revenue earner for the government. During Tuesday's joint awareness on Section 65A of the Goods and Services Tax Act inlay, Acting Assistant Commissioner of the IRC Tax Audit, Ranzoline Kalokalo, re-emphasized their vision. Section 65A is a notice issued by the Commissioner General for provincial and district agencies to withhold the 10% goods and services tax portion and remit directly to the IRC on behalf of their suppliers.
And I think that's the goal of what we're doing in terms of the 65A. So that's the message from the 65A. There's positive collection being done in terms of the revenue. And I think as per the presentation, the participants are able to appreciate how much revenue that's been collected from the GST Section 65A. Basically, that's where the Commission is heading in terms of collection of revenue, tax revenue, to improve or to have the GST become the #1 tax collection, in terms of the revenue. And that's where the focus, where the CG is being emphasizing. And he'll emphasize that wherever he has an opportunity.
Initiated in 2020, the GST Section 65A project was trialed with 15 agencies using the Integrated Financial Management System and raised well over 20 million in 6 months. Today, there are 168 authorized withholders or agencies. Salome Vincent, TV1 News.
The second day of the joint awareness on Section 65A of the Goods and Services Tax Act was conducted today in Leh with the suppliers of government agencies. During the session, the Internal Revenue Commission outlined to suppliers that because taxpayers do not declare what they are being paid in the terms of GST, Section 65A acts as a plug for that leakage.
The two-day joint awareness on Section 65A of the Goods and Services Tax Act is now concluding in Leh for the Momose region. The session is conducted by the Internal Revenue Commission in collaboration with the Department of Finance. The first day was on Tuesday, August 1st, where it was attended by authorized withholders, which are provincial governments, district development authorities, and provincial health authorities. The second and final day was for suppliers and service providers of these authorized withholders.
It was quite interesting, and it's positive to have the number that turned up. Because as much as possible, we wanted the suppliers, to also go away with the message in terms of how they should be conforming to the Section 65A with withholders. We've gone through the basics GST processes, what they should be doing in terms of the lodgement of the G1, and I think that's very important for them to adhere to, or the message they should be taking away. They are required to lodge in the G1 regardless, so that should solve some of the issues on the reconciliation of the 65.
Notice holders file 2 monthly GST returns, and the appropriate GST forms depend on the industry type. Government departments or agencies and state-owned enterprises use the G6 form, while the suppliers use G1 forms. Some of the suppliers called for a streamlined process, as it takes very long for them to get their GST refunds. Kalakalo gave the assurance that his team has taken note of their concerns and suggestions, saying overall the IRC team is satisfied with the turnout. Tracy Part, TV1 News.
And now the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.2790 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our kina was buying $0.2715 $0.4073 Australian dollars, 0.2390 euro and 38.43 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, crude oil, and copper closed higher. The rest closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, ASX closed lower, and all ordinaries closed lower as well. This is TVWAN News. After the break, we'll have news from overseas. Stay tuned.
Experience a convenient and smarter way to do your banking with BSB Mobile Banking. You don't have to leave the office or your home to pay for bills. You can view your account balance, transfer funds, top up phone credits, or purchase Easy Pay units wherever you are. Visit your BSB branch today to register now for BSB Mobile Banking. BSB Mobile Banking, the smarter way to bank. BSB, our bank, our people.
He says the best Hunters players come from his region. So does she. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SB Lager, Bunyamyumi.
Right across the nation, we eat snack crackers. Emi trupla. All get a young planalapun, only like him snacks crackers. Only make him here, no PNG, one-time lay biscuit company. It's crunchy and tasty. It's irresistible.
A true champion is measured by their courage, their determination, and their passion to never give up and to always keep trying. With a delicious Milo and milk taste and added nutrients, Milo and milk is a great way to fuel our little champions with nourishing energy every day. Because true champions give it their all.
Milo, PNG and Mia. Prime PNG made.
Beauty is my business, but beauty sure is a tough game. Filters are great, but great skin, better. And that's why my skin deserves the best. So I choose self-care, soaps that gently nourish my skin, resulting in a radiant look, made with tropical ingredients. I trust self-care from City Pharmacy. So bring it on! My skin is ready and so am I.
Chef Scott Laseth is cooking up the world's creepiest critters.
You with me? No.
Iguana, hagfish, and wild boar are just some of the items in this season's menu.
Let's eat. And eat. And eat. It's nothing like you've had anywhere.
Hey, dead meat!
Dead meat. An all-new season. Coming soon on Outdoor.
Well, folks, after literally years of negotiation between the fan and the management of Steve Menzies, we have secured the great man for the show. Welcome to the fan.
This is all going through my head, and then all of a sudden he passes it back. Oh, my God.
Today we have enlisted the help of Panthers co-captain and superstar halfback.
When you've kicked it well, you usually know, and especially on the chip kicks, I usually know.
Thanks to Nathan Cleary, invaluable insight for the fans out there, for the kids out there.
The ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023 is almost here.
What a beauty! He's on absolute fire!
And we're back. France has announced New Caledonian armed forces will be expanded in a significant overhaul that Vanuatu will feel the effects of, as they will also enhance a forward presence in civil security to train, equip, and enable Vanuatu to respond on time right here. President of France, Emmanuel Macron, stated during his official speech on his visit in Vanuatu last week. He said in order to preserve complete sovereignty, France also seeks to promote cross-cultural, intellectual, and scientific contacts. France is also supporting trade agreements that will help strengthen commercial ties and integration in the region. The French Agency for Development will re-engage in the Pacific and commit $220 billion to the region, 5 times more than in the previous period and much more than France has ever done. Australia has been granted another 6 months to prove it's doing enough to save the Great Barrier Reef. UNESCO has announced the World Heritage Treasure does not yet belong on the in danger list, but it's issued a stark warning the time for action is running out.
An Australian icon has passed its latest health test, with UNESCO again concluding the reef doesn't need to be put on the world's in danger list.
Today's draft decision is a really good decision. It does recognise that there has been good progress.
This includes more federal funding to reduce water pollution and make fisheries more sustainable.
We are doing everything we possibly can to protect the reef because no one cares more about the reef than Australians.
But UNESCO says the situation is critical, warning this fragile jewel of world heritage is still under serious threat, and it's calling for urgent and sustained action to improve its resilience.
There's no question that the Great Barrier Reef is in danger from climate change especially.
We're seeing certainly some improvements with climate change, but we're still seeing approvals of coal mines in Australia.
The reef has suffered through 4 mass coral bleaching events in less than a decade. And now we're heading into a hotter El Niño summer.
There is a strong likelihood that we would see a coral bleaching event occurring in the early part of next year.
UNESCO has been threatening a danger label for years. The Morrison government successfully lobbied against a listing 2 years ago, and now the Albanese government has avoided one too.
The reef is really a litmus test when it comes to the world's efforts to tackle climate change.
UNESCO has now given the government 6 months to report back.
Borrowers can breathe again after the Reserve Bank left interest rates on hold. But outgoing Bank Governor Philip Lowe says the rate hike cycle may not be over yet.
A nervous monthly wait for many.
It's on hold.
But this time, a reprieve on interest rates. Real estate agent May Chan thinks the pause in rate rises will see more activity in a housing market already defying the odds.
I think we'll be a lot busier at open for inspections. I think buyers will see that as a positive sign.
It's the second consecutive month the RBA has left the cash rate unchanged at 4.1%.
There will be a sigh of relief around Australia, but people are still under the pump.
Among them is Kimberly Starr, who is facing a big hit when her fixed rate expires in October.
My repayments will change from being about 40% of my take-home income to nearly 60% of my take-home income. I'm actually really frightened and I don't know what my plan is.
In the past few months, the Reserve Bank Board has noted that some are facing a painful squeeze on their finances. Now it seems the balance has shifted, and it says many households are feeling the pressure.
Economists remain divided on whether there are still further hikes ahead.
The Reserve Bank in the last 5 board meetings, including today's, has paused for 3 out of that 5. That certainly suggests that the pause can continue.
Which could keep pushing house prices higher. They continued to climb in July for a 5th straight month. National home values rose by 0.7%. That still leaves them 3.4% lower than a year ago. Across the country, the biggest gains in the month were in Brisbane and Adelaide, followed by Perth. Sydney prices grew, but at a slower pace, with smaller rises in Melbourne, Darwin and the regions. No change in Hobart, while values in Canberra fell slightly.
I think a decision to hold by the RBA is really going to provide a boost to confidence in the marketplace.
And a confidence boost for households struggling with rising repayments.
Back home, the Australian Defence Vessel Reliance and PNG's Cape Gloucester recently joined forces to transfer vital supplies to Manus Island in support of the upcoming military exercise Puk Puk, scheduled for September. During this critical operation, PNG's Cape Gloucester along with its skilled crew, played a pivotal role in the seamless delivery of essential stores.
HMPNG's Cape Gloucester effectively rafted alongside Australian defence vessel Reliant and received a cargo assortment, which included Australian Army vehicles using a precision crane. Subsequently, the cargo was efficiently ferried to the designated barge ramp and promptly placed in its required location on Manus Island.
Australian Defence Vessel Reliant is here at Manus Island, and we are discharging a number of Australian Army vehicles and cargoes to Lombram Naval Base in support of Exercise Puk Puk 2023. Australian Defence Vessel Reliant and His Majesty's Papua New Guinea ship Cape Gloucester will be rafting to allow us to be able to discharge the cargoes ashore. Because of Reliant's size, we're unable to move all the way to the berth, so we raft up Cape Gloucester alongside of us and transfer the cargo via our main crane onto her deck.
The transfer operation proved to be an excellent opportunity for ADV Reliance Navy Liaison Officer Lieutenant Commander Brenton James Glover and Core HMPNG's Cape Gloucester Lieutenant Brian Pohai to collaborate once again.
Brian and I served together on HMPNGS Lucky Kamu quite a few years ago, where I was a commanding officer and he was my executive officer.
Their professional partnership traces back to 2016 when Lieutenant Commander Glover was stationed in Papua New Guinea, serving as the commanding officer of HMPNGS Lakekamu. Presently, Lieutenant Pohai holds the distinguished position of commanding officer of the Australian gifted landing craft HMPNGS Cape Gloucester.
BJ was a great mentor, a great teacher. Taught us a lot, especially in the field of navigation, and also to how to conduct ourselves as officers in the maritime element.
The relationship Brian and myself have really grew through our time on the ship. We both met each other's families and really committed to assisting each other not only professionally but personally, and that really shows also that strength of Australia's cooperation with Papua New Guinea and our Pacific families.
Their joint efforts in delivering essential supplies on Manus Island demonstrates their commitment to enhancing regional security and preparedness for the upcoming Exercise Puk Puk. Susan Oreape, TV1 News.
The East New Britain provincial government has launched a major relief supply exercise aimed at supplying immediate humanitarian assistance to the affected areas in the autonomous region of Bougainville caused by the recent volcanic eruption. A number of dignitaries witnessed the launch, including Minister for Defence Windaki, Commander PNG Defence Force Brigadier Mark Goyna, Commissioner of Police David Manning, and Bougainville Regional Member and Minister for National Security Peter Siamalili Jr. Governor Michael Marum said political leaders in East New Britain came together to organize food supply to send over those affected by the eruption across the sea. He added that the people in East New Britain understood what it feels like to lose homes, essential services, and basic livelihood after a volcanic eruption. The event also marked the launch of the PNG government's relief support to those impacted by the eruption of Mount Bagana. And that ends the news segment. We'll have sports next. Stay with us.
It's in the highs and in the lows. It's in the big things and the small things too. It's hard to put into words, but you'll know it when you see it. Terrain Tamer, when quality counts.
They travel by land, by water, and by air for hours or even days, facing the most extreme conditions imaginable. To these students, it's more than just a walk to school. It's a test of survival. And they do it every single day. The most dangerous ways to school, streaming now on Outdoor.
to NRL 360 Rugby League.
Ready to rock town.
I think all the clubs are sitting out there and they're watching this with interest.
Is in the ring on SmackDown.
You're looking at the judge, the jury, and the executioner right now.
A plumber's battleground for survival. Crawl space. Desperate times. Desperate measures. Mission impossible. Rogue Nation. Prepare for extinction. Transformers. Age of Extinction. The defining chapter. The Hobbit. The Battle of the Five Armies. The battle for Earth begins at sea. Battleship.
Tasmania is Australia's smallest state, lying about 240 kilometres south of the mainland. Join me on my journey through this beautiful island state as I experience the produce, people and culture that makes this an unforgettable island.
MotoGP. To be a highly dramatic 18-lap Malaysian Grand Prix Moto2 started with.
So that's a very decent middle sector for the Alpine. They only have it all.
They have crashed. They've got into each other. What a start for Will Davison. Di Pasquale has been swamped.
Some of the biggest and most talented egos in sailing.
The two-time defending champions make it 2 in a row.
Greatness feeds greatness, captivating this generation and inspiring the next. Will you be there to witness it?
Welcome back. The 2023 Port Moresby Men's Softball Champions are going through a rebuilding process with the promotion of development players to the senior head grade side this season. Their recent grand final win against an experienced power side last month was a testament to the club's belief and trust in the system and processes to create development pathways for their juniors. Former PNG softball rep and club's head coach Tony DePaul was over the moon seeing a number of his junior players stepping up on the big plate to outplay a star-studded power outfit on grand final day, giving them a shocking 5-0 scoreline. DePaul said the club has strong winning culture for year in, year out, but now is the time to blood in the next generation that can take the club forward.
20s and mid-20s, and that's what our goal is and has been for the last year, to nurture those young boys coming through. We've been able to do that. We're also doing that with our juniors, and we want to keep on doing that because we can actually just see the results today with the younger guys coming through and the young guys not being overruled. You got Eltony at first base, you got Donald at second, and then you've also got Jackie at shortstop. And Jackie's the youngest guy. He's only bloody 18 years old. And for him to be doing what he did today is extraordinary. I think we couldn't have asked for anything more than what he provided us today.
The newly elected executive of the Koyari Rugby League is proactive in his endeavours to restore its integrity and pride as one of the best-run associations in the Southern Confederate. The league has a long history and has graduated some of the best rugby league talents from that part of the Southern region.
Given its colourful history in producing some of the best league players in recent times, the current executive of Koyari Rugby League is now hell-bent in getting its house in order and restore some pride back in the competition. Secretary and patron Alfred Talingapua gave a brief overview of the future plans and aspirations. He commended President Anthony Abavu and Treasurer Roslyn Bradshaw for putting their hands up to serve the cause. He said the league has 16 A-grade and B-grade clubs, with the competition progressing well so far. Koyari Nagavas, the representative side currently participating in the Central Rugby League Edai Dabares competition and doing very well. It is leading the 28-team competition. The executive is also proposing to take a Koyari Nagavas select side for a 3-game tour of Kimbe, West New Britain during the off-season. Abavu acknowledges the continued support and commitment by Water PNG as major sponsor and partner in Koyari Rugby League and other community sports and activities.
We say thank you once again for continued support, and your support has been not taken lightly. We have gone another milestone, like now we have allocated ambassador to our leagues. So like the former players are coming into the league to play, to market the boys out in a different level, so that we are not actually taking part in that local league. Our boys don't stop from local league, but they continue to strive in a bigger stage to represent our country as a whole. And that name, we will still remember you as Water PNG, being very supportive in our success.
KRL's main objective is to restore decency and good governance, promote and diversify junior and women's league, and build a stadium. Finally, to bid for Koyari Nagavas into the 2026 Digital Action Mobile Cup. Terry Longwood, TV1 Sports.
NRL Round 23 kicks off this Thursday with Roosters versus Sea Eagles. Other big games with weekend including Panthers and the Storms and Cowboys versus Broncos.
The season is all but over for the Roosters, who are surprise favourites against Sea Eagles this week. Given their respective positions on the NRL ladder, it's mainly to win, especially coming off a round 2 victory. The Titans scored a great upset win over the Cowboys last week, and they'll need to produce a similar effort to beat the Warriors. New Zealand is inside the top 3 teams in the competition after a series of quality performances, and coming off the bye makes them dangerous. They should be too much for the Titans to handle. The marquee game of the week sees the Flying Panthers host the Storm in what could be a game of the year. There doesn't seem to be any slowing down for the Panthers, but the Storm smashed the Eels last week, and they usually improve as the playoffs approach. The winning run of the Cowboys came to a screeching halt on Sunday when losing to the Titans. It was disappointing to see, and now they need to beat the Broncos, who won't lie down and let the baby Broncos get the job done. The Dolphins were disappointing when losing to the Bulldogs last week. They need to be much better to hold off the Knights, who have stormed into playoff contention with a series of top performances. The Sharks look like a fish out of the water at the moment. They looked excellent a few weeks ago, but after some disappointing losses, the Rabbitohs could pile on the pressure. The Eels were rampaged by the Storm last week, and there were some concerning signs with their defense. Considering the Raiders didn't fire last week, they get an opportunity to produce the goods against the worst team in the competition, West Tigers. Terry Longwood, TV1 Sports.
That's it for sports, and now the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
And that ends the news tonight. Pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
The TVWAN News was proudly brought to you by BSP, our bank, our people.